Volcanoes are one of the most dangerous natural phenomena that our planet has to offer. They can wipe entire cities off the face of the Earth in an instant, causing massive devastation and loss of life. Even the largest mountain ranges on the planet, including Mount Everest, will eventually be wiped out by volcanic activity. But what if all of Earth's volcanoes erupted at once? Would the world we live in even still exist? If every single volcano on the planet decided to erupt simultaneously, it would cause massive destruction like nothing we have ever witnessed. And due to how long it would take for such a catastrophic event to actually play out, humanity wouldn't stand much of a chance against Mother Nature. So join us today as we discuss what would happen if all the volcanoes on Earth erupted. What is a volcano? Before we jump into what would happen if every volcano erupted, let's first take a look at what a volcano actually is and how they form. In simple terms, a volcano is essentially a rupture in the crust of a planet or other celestial body that allows hot magma to escape from below the surface. When this happens on Earth, the magma that makes its way to the surface is referred to as lava, which is often molten rock, but also contains dissolved gases and suspended crystals. The lava is typically extremely hot, ranging from around 700 degrees Celsius to over 1200 degrees Celsius. When people think of volcanoes, they often picture towering mountains with a single opening at the top. However, not all volcanoes have this classic shape. Some are actually quite small and only a few meters across. Meanwhile, others, like Mount Everest, might appear more like large domes than anything else. Volcanoes can be found all over the Earth, and there are several different types, including shield volcanoes, cinder cone volcanoes, and composite volcanoes, just to name a few. Each type is formed in slightly different ways, but they all follow the basic principle of magma pushing its way up through the planet's crust until it reaches the surface. How do volcanoes form? Now that we know what a volcano is, let's take a closer look at how they form. As mentioned before, all volcanoes are created when magma pushes its way up through the planet's crust. The process begins deep within the Earth where temperatures reach thousands of degrees Celsius. At these extreme temperatures, the rocks begin to melt, forming a molten substance known as magma. The magma is less dense than the surrounding solid rock, so it starts to rise towards the surface. As it rises, the pressure and temperature decrease, which causes the dissolved gases in the magma to expand. This forms bubbles in the magma, making it even less dense. Eventually, the magma reaches a chamber beneath the Earth's crust where the pressure is low enough for the magma to push its way through. Once the magma reaches the surface, it is no longer under high pressure, so the gases in the magma expand rapidly, causing an explosion. The explosion ejects ash, gas, and rock fragments into the air, which eventually form a mound over the opening where the magma came from. This mound is the volcano. Over time, the volcano continues to grow as more magma is pushed up from below the Earth's crust and erupts. The shape of the volcano is determined by the type of magma and the amount of gas it contains. Shield volcanoes are formed by the accumulation of fluid basaltic lava, while cinder cone volcanoes are formed by the explosive eruption of gas-rich magma. Composite volcanoes, also known as stratovolcanoes, are formed by alternating layers of lava and ash. So now that we understand what a volcano is and how it forms, let's dive into what would happen if every single volcano on Earth erupted simultaneously. Why do volcanoes erupt? To better understand what would happen if every volcano on Earth erupted, it's important to know why volcanoes erupt in the first place. As mentioned before, the primary reason volcanoes erupt is due to the expansion of gases in the magma as it rises towards the surface of the Earth. When magma is deep within the Earth, the pressure is so high that it keeps the gases in the magma dissolved. However, as the magma rises and the pressure decreases, the gases begin to expand, forming bubbles in the magma. Eventually, the pressure is low enough that the bubbles can no longer be contained in the magma and the volcano erupts. Another reason volcanoes erupt is due to the weight of the growing mound of material on top of the volcano. As the volcano grows, the weight of the material on top compresses the magma chamber, increasing the pressure. When the pressure is greater than the strength of the rocks above the magma chamber, the volcano erupts. Let the games begin. If every volcano on Earth were to erupt simultaneously, the initial explosions would be absolutely devastating. The force of the explosions would depend on the type of volcano and the amount of gas and magma in each one. Some volcanoes are relatively small and erupt frequently, while others are much larger and erupt less often. The largest volcano on Earth is Olympus Mons, located on Mars. If Olympus Mons were to erupt, the eruption column would likely reach hundreds of kilometers into the atmosphere. Ash and gas would be ejected into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and causing global temperatures to plummet. The amount of volcanic ash released into the atmosphere would be staggering. Ash would cover entire cities, making them uninhabitable. The ash would also contaminate water sources, destroying crops and livestock, earthquakes, and tsunamis. In addition to the initial explosions, there would also be earthquakes and tsunamis. The earthquakes would occur as the magma chambers beneath the volcanoes emptied, causing the ground to shake. The sudden displacement of water from the oceans as magma chambers emptied and new land was formed would create massive tsunami waves. These tsunamis would travel across the oceans, destroying coastal cities and causing widespread flooding. Pyroclastic flows, lava and mudslides. Another danger posed by the simultaneous eruption of all volcanoes would be pyroclastic flows. Pyroclastic flows are fast-moving currents of hot gas and solid material that flow down the slopes of volcanoes. Pyroclastic flows would incinerate everything in their path, leaving behind a barren wasteland. In addition to pyroclastic flows, lava would flow from the volcanoes, destroying everything in its path. Lava can travel at speeds of up to 10 kilometers per hour and can remain hot enough to burn for days. Mudslides would also occur as the volcanic eruptions caused the soil to become saturated with water. This would lead to massive landslides, which could bury entire towns and villages. Global climate change. The eruption of all volcanoes would have a significant impact on the global climate. The ash and gas ejected into the atmosphere would block out the sun, leading to a global ice age. The amount of sulfur dioxide released into the atmosphere would also have a cooling effect on the planet. Sulfur dioxide reacts with water vapor in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid, which forms a layer of haze in the stratosphere. This haze reflects sunlight back into space, leading to a global temperature drop. In fact, the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines in 1991 released about 5 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. This led to a global temperature drop of about 0.5 degrees Celsius, or about 1 degree Fahrenheit. Would humans survive? In conclusion, the simultaneous eruption of all volcanoes on Earth would be a catastrophic event that would cause massive destruction and loss of life. The initial explosions, earthquakes, and tsunamis would destroy entire cities and infrastructure. Pyroclastic flows, lava, and mudslides would incinerate everything in their path. And the global climate change would lead to crop failures and a new ice age. It's hard to say whether any humans would survive such an event, but it's safe to say that the world as we know it would cease to exist. While this scenario is highly unlikely to occur in reality, it's still interesting to think about the potential consequences of such an event. It serves as a reminder of the incredible power of nature and the importance of understanding and respecting it. Or what would happen if a giant wave hit the United States? We explore all sorts of fascinating and sometimes terrifying scenarios. So be sure to check them out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new.